folks. Welcome back to another episode of Bet GPT. This is episode 70. And today, Slade, we are breaking down some MLB playoffs, previewing that, looking at some best bets for the upcoming playoffs. And then we will be looking at some NFL futures. We're about, we've hit the quarter pole, if you will, kind of the unofficial 25% of the way through the season already for NFL. So we'll break down each of the awards, see if we can extract some value there. But Slade, are you excited for some October baseball? I know the Cubs aren't in it, but I'm hoping if the Mets Braves game yesterday is any indication of how the playoffs go, I'm pretty excited for this.
I need to. My favorite part of watching the baseball playoffs, if the Cubs aren't in it, is just hate watching. I get to root against the Dodgers. I get to root against, typically like one of the Cardinals or the Brewers or the White Sox or someone like that. So I've got a few teams I'm ready to hate this year. But yeah, it's obviously not the same when your team's not in it.
Yeah, I feel you. It's kind of weird. We're going to have to pick, kind of like Cubs neutral teams to root for. So out of the AL, I'm probably going to be, let's see, like breaking down. We can look at the bracket real quick here. We have Tigers Houston round one. So Tigers obviously off an insanely hot end of the season. They're traveling to Houston this morning. And
Royals.
Yeah, the Royals at the Orioles. So Orioles have been slumping. Royals honestly haven't looked that good. I saw this stat where the Royals are like one game under 500 against all teams other than the White Sox, but against the White Sox they're 12-1.
Oh wow! And also, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into this when we talk about how the bracket plays out. But that first round, that wild card round, is only a 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
So you kind of, I would never feel comfortable betting a big favorite in that scenario.
Well, let's just start with Tigers Houston. So Tariq Skubal just went wire to wire for AL Cy Young, or that will be announced later next month. You can find them at plus money in the series price against the Astros. Do you think that they have any sort of chance to knock them off?
Against the Astros? Yes. Yeah. Who's the Astros ace right now? I don't know. I mean,
Framber Valdez is the answer.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's good. And I do have an Astros future. So I'm probably looking at this as like a little more nervous than I am skeptical. But yeah, I think the Tigers, we've seen a team get hot at the right time and make a run last year with the Diamondbacks. I mean, the Tigers are kind of in the same situation the D-backs were in last year. The D-backs won like 84-ish games, 85 games last year and made the World Series. I don't see why the Tigers should be anything. Again, that's not the norm, but it shouldn't be anything that we act like is impossible.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. For the series, the Tigers are plus 160. In today's game, with Skubal on the mound, they're plus 126. The over-under for that game is 6.5. So extremely low there. I do like the Tigers in this game, but I think more so in the second game, the Royals at the Orioles. I hate to do this, but I'm going to be fading the Orioles this postseason. I just think that it's one of those things where if the season were extended a month, like who would get in and who wouldn't get in. Like I'm glad the Tigers were able to get in, the Twins fell out. If there was another month, I just think the Orioles would kind of just keep would keep losing. So they have no pitching help. They have Corbin Burns today, and that's literally it. They're going against Cole Reagans though, and I think Cole Reagans for the Royals. I know we kind of liked him for AL Cy Young. He was a little bit inconsistent, but I think he finished the year strong. So I like the Royals today, plus 124, and I think I like them in the series as well.
So you're gonna do it to our man Cowser like that? The second the season ends and his duty to your future bet is done, you are just totally out on them. You're like, thank you for your service. Now you hit the road.
That's true. Cowser, thank you for everything you've done. I love you and Gunner. But other than that, I'm just not impressed. Adley Rutschman, that's a play. I have a 6-pack play I'm about to give out on him.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay. So DraftKings has odds where you can look at you can bet on over unders for batting average. Um, for specific players, you can look at like total home runs, total stolen bases for the playoffs, and a few things under playoff specials. But for batting averages, I was just looking through, and something caught my eye here. Adley Rutschman over under a .247 batting average for the playoffs. So I'm taking the under on .247. So for a couple reasons. One, I just don't think that he is he's in good form right now. He got injured towards the end of July, and he really just hasn't been the same in terms of making contact. And if you've seen, let me try to pull this stat up here. If you've seen some of his splits lately compared to James McCann, their other catcher, it doesn't even look like he's the best player in their team. So he's hitting on June 27th, Rutschman was hitting 300 with 15 home runs. Since then, he lost 50 points on his batting average and only hit 4 more home runs. So he batted 250 with 19 home runs for the whole year. I know this is a small sample size, but especially if the Orioles win a series and they keep going and the game sample size goes up, I just think that that number is going to go lower and lower. So I'm taking Rutschman under .249 batting average.
Hey, you're the one who has to live around, some Rutschman fans, so not my problem.
I know.
I
I really hope they're not listening to this right now, but money's money.
Also, one interesting stat on the Royals. If you're into like the nerdy analytics stuff and like the luck factor of baseball, the Royals have been the unluckiest team in the MLB this year,
Mm,
according to like however they do their little formula. They should have had 5 more wins. So keep that in mind when if you're just looking at their records, or maybe how much you pay attention. I don't feel like the average baseball fan pays a ton of attention to the Royals outside of maybe Bobby Witt Jr.
yeah,
Um, but they are a good team, and yes, they have been a little unlucky. So keep that in mind. Um, One other thing, I know you and I think we bet Padres to make the playoffs at 2-1 before the season, didn't we?
plus
Um,
250. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, they've been the best team in baseball the last half of the year, I'd say. I don't know if the record shows that. I know it's one of the best, if not the best. But um, the Phillies were the team that I really want to root for because of Schwarber and Harper and Castellanos and all those guys. Um, Unfortunately, they've been playing 500 baseball for 2 months. And so I don't know if that's just like we've locked up the playoffs and we don't care anymore. And like we're just trying to get through the regular season as healthy as we can, blah, blah, blah. I mean, teams do that. But on the other hand, it's kind of a concerning trend to not be playing your best baseball with 2 months, the last 2 months of the year. We haven't seen them really be hot since like July.
Yeah. So I mean, do you think that's going to keep up, or do you think they can flip the switch back on?
I think it's hard to flip a switch. But on the other hand, they do have a lot of guys who have postseason success. So like if Trey Turner suddenly looks like the best player in the world for the postseason, would that really shock you? He's 33-1 for the World Series MVP. So that was one I was keeping an eye on. He's been there with the Dodgers. He's been there with the Nationals. He's played at like every big stage that baseball has. So he was one name I liked. And you obviously, if you're looking at like a World Series MVP market, I was like, I want a team that I feel like has at least one of the top 3 or 4 most or best chances to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. For some reason, I'm just not buying the Phillies this year. But like you said, they still have like all these good players like Schwarber. You know he's going to hit a couple big postseason home runs
Yep.
if they pitch to him. Zach Wheeler looked good in his last start. And they had some other pitchers who performed well in the regular season. So they're definitely going to be a tough out. But looking at that side of the bracket, they obviously have a first round bye. So we have the Mets at the Brewers, and then the Braves at the Padres. Braves Braves Padres winner plays the Dodgers, and then Mets Brewers plays the Phillies. I want to look at the Braves Padres game real quick. So Braves yesterday, they just played their doubleheader. They lost to the Mets in the first game, and one of the best regular season games we've had all year. And now they won the second game. Mets kind of packed it in. They just won 3-0. Their reward is they have to fly all the way to the West Coast. They have to play at the Padres. And Chris Sale yesterday, the biggest news of the day pretty much was that he was scratched from his start with back spasms. So I don't know his availability. I just know that he is not pitching today.
Mhm.
And obviously that's not what you wanted because they wanted to line it up well. They're just listed as TBD as their starting pitcher right now, while the Padres have Michael King going out there, and he's minus 166. If the Braves throw out, man, like someone like Ian Anderson or one of these lower tier starters for them, I just cannot imagine that Tatis, Machado, Jackson Merrill, and the rest of those guys don't hit a couple home runs against them.
Yeah,
Um,
the Padres have the lowest strikeout rate in the MLB this year, which I think in the postseason matters. Like when you're looking at postseason baseball, it's like teams that don't strike out a lot and teams that play good defense and have at least two or three arms they trust. Um, so one bet I want to give out um, for the American League is I'm going to give out the Guardians at plus 390
to win
um,
it.
to win the AL. To win the AL.
Okay, so let's look at this real quick. So let's break down your side of the bracket. You think the Guardians they play Detroit or Houston? They'll take care of them. Who do you have the Guardians facing in the ALCS?
Um, God, I'm looking at the photo right now, but I I actually hate to say this, but I think the Yankees are actually better than I want to give them credit for. I think it probably will be them because they're gonna all they're gonna have to do is beat either the Orioles, who I think they've proven they're better than in the regular
Hmm.
season, or a Royals team that just had to go win 2 out of 3 in Baltimore. So you might catch them, back end of their rotation. If they go 3 games versus Baltimore, you might get the back end of the Royals rotation, and then you can line them up with Garrett Cole, and you have a pretty good chance of winning that game one at home. So I was leaning towards kind of going chalk in the American League, which is really boring, the 1 and the 2 seed, and I know that never really makes sense because we've seen how random the sport can be. Um, but even though the Guardians are the 2 seed, they still are the third highest or third lowest odds. Like they're still behind the Astros in almost every sports book.
Yeah, and okay, so if you're looking at the AL straight forecast, Guardians to beat Yankees plus 650, Guardians to beat Orioles 11-1, or Guardians to beat Royals 17-1. But you said you wanted to take you're taking the Guardians plus 360,
390.
390. Okay. Got it.
And let me
Guardians.
check. Let me check FanDuel just to see if they've
Yeah.
got the same number.
Guard okay. Sounds good. Yeah, and while you're doing that, I can kind of break down what I think. I think the Tigers do end up beating Houston. I just don't think that as we go to in a 3-game series, I think the Tigers can beat anyone. Once it gets up to 7, um, in that ALCS round, because it goes 3, 5, 7, and
I
then
think so.
7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
So
last two
best of
series are 7. Yeah.
yeah. So once it gets to the ALCS, I just don't think it's realistic that the Tigers can do that. I know unless they're throwing Skubal consistently on like 2 or 3 or like 3 or 4 days rest. Um,
You'd be asking him to Madison Bumgarner it,
yeah.
and if you're the Tigers, you got to be wondering why did we trade Jack Flaherty when he's a guy you could have thrown out there game 2, game 3. I
Yep.
mean, just lengthen all your innings and maybe get a more efficient Skubal. So they really screwed that up by giving up on themselves. So a little lesson to the front offices about selling.
Yeah.
It's not always as simple as it looks on July 30th or whatever.
Yeah. And then another lesson too on buying. The Dodgers need Flaherty badly. Kershaw has been hurt all year. They just got Yamamoto back. They lost Glass now for the year, so they don't have Ohtani obviously pitching, so they're going in with like a shell of himself and Walker Buehler. Yamamoto, who's had, I think he's made like 4 or 5 starts since he came off the IL. Flaherty, and then I forgot who they have, a couple other guys. So no one I'm really afraid of for them. But yeah, so I'll go back to the AL. I'll go Tigers, Guardians. I'll go Royals, Yankees, and I do think it ends up being Guardians, Yankees duking it out. And I mean, they've had competitive series in the past. We saw it in 2022. It was a 3-2 win, 3-2 series win for the Yankees. But I do think the Guardians can overtake him this year. Like, probably one of the biggest non-stories, if you will, or things people haven't given enough credit would be Jose Ramirez.
Mm-hmm.
He is probably one of the best Guardians in the history of their franchise. He just had 39 home runs and over 40 stolen bases.
I would say he is the best Guardian of all time because it's a joke. I get, I'm making a reference to them changing their name, but we made a lot of good bets this year on like MVPs, and obviously only one person can win, but like I think I had Jose Ramirez and Bobby Witt, and it's like, I mean, they didn't win, but they still had like their best season of their careers.
Yeah.
So you got to give them their flowers. And Jose Ramirez, he's a guy that I don't think anybody has a problem with. Like, he's just, everyone likes him. He just kind of, he's never in the media. He just goes out there and he rakes.
He just loves baseball. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, okay. You're the Guardians, Yankees. And I pretty much agree with you. So we can see how that plays out versus what we think is going to happen in the NL. I can start with what I think is going to happen in the NL. I'll go Brewers over Mets. Mets have been playing hot, but Brewers quietly have been playing well. I'll just give it to them in the best of 3 series. Braves, Padres. I'm definitely going Padres. And leading into the Dodgers series, I'm taking the Padres again. I just think that the Padres can give them so much trouble. I think their lineup can match up with what the Dodgers are doing, and the big advantage is going to be the pitching for the Padres. I know they've had a couple blown saves lately, so that does worry me. But I don't know. I just think you shut down Ohtani, you shut down Mookie, which is a very tall task. But if you do that, that leads you into such a good place, and trying to force these other guys to beat you. Teoscar Hernandez can hit home runs, but it's not like he has a high batting average or anything. So yeah, I'm going Padres there, and then I'll go Phillies over the Brewers again. I just think Phillies will take care of both of those teams. And then I'll take the Padres over the Phillies as well too. I'm just super high on the Padres. Any team that's hot, I'm just going to keep riding them until proven differently. So I'm taking the Padres in the NL.
I am too. And we didn't plan this, but so my thought process is like, I'm kind of going chalk in the American League, and then in the National League, I'm going with who's hot, like you said. And I think Vegas kind of agrees with us, considering the Padres are plus 550, and that's with them playing an extra round in the Dodgers and the Phillies.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder how they would have this broken out if the Padres were the one with a bye and didn't have to face the Braves and then the Dodgers. Like, they have the hardest path, and they still have the third shortest odds to make it to the World Series from the National League. So I think that says a lot about, what Vegas thinks about this team. Like I said, I mentioned it kind of earlier and hinted at it. They don't strike out. They have superstars on offense. And they have pitchers who get strikeouts. That matters because it makes playing defense a lot easier. And just the way teams pitch in the postseason, you're pitching to avoid contact. It's not the same as where you're trying to eat innings. Like, every out is way more precious than like trying to go deep into the game and pitch to contact. So I like a guy like Dylan Cease in this spot. My other thoughts were, like you said, the Dodgers don't really have a ton of pitching. They're just very thin, and like, they're still, I mean, for them to make it, they still have to win like another 10 games. I'm not confident they can go another 10 games without another pitcher getting injured. At the rate they're going, they have had the worst injury luck, not just this year, but like for the last like 5 years when it comes to starting pitchers. I don't really trust them to stay healthy.
Yeah, here's their 4 starting pitchers for the divisional series: Jack Flaherty, Yamamoto, Walker Buehler, and Landon Knack.
Landon,
I
no one knows who you are. Walker Buehler sucks.
Yamamoto's
Yamamoto,
not stretched out. He can give you 5,
yeah.
I guess.
This is also his first time playing meaningful baseball. Like I don't know if you can expect him to go in there and be lights out. I mean, he has the stuff to do it. And then, yeah, you mentioned the Braves are going to probably be without Sale for this series and probably even the next series if they were to move on. So, um, and then they're already without Strider. They're already without Acuna. Like the Padres should take care of business in that series. The thing that makes you nervous is it is, 3 games. Um, yeah, I think you're setting it up for the Padres to be coming out of that side of the bracket, and then um, the Brewers and the Mets. I think you can go either way. I think all of these series are going to be kind of 50-50s on the
Mhm.
top
In
side.
the top half, yeah.
Yeah, I could see any of those 3 teams making it to face the Padres. The Phillies just have
Yes.
the benefit of being a first round bye.
So looking at the NL straight, Padres to beat Phillies is 9-1. Padres to beat the Brewers 19-1. And Padres to beat the Mets. Where is that? That's all the way at the bottom. Padres to beat the Mets 22-1. But if you're just
Hmm.
looking at the straight league winner, Padres are plus 550, Dodgers plus 175. That's way too low. They could very well do it. You know, they have the best player. They're still probably the best team, I guess. But like we said with the pitching, that I just think that I'm too concerned with that.
Have
Phillies
we
plus
ever seen
230.
Shohei in a playoff either? I mean,
No, this is
we've
his
seen
first
Mookie
game.
Betts, so I'm not worried about him. But
Yeah, no,
yeah,
we haven't.
I lean Brewers over Mets, and then I would slightly lean Phillies over the Brewers. But the Phillies, like I said, they've been playing 500 ball. They're not. It's just a matter of can they flip a switch.
Yep, yep. All right, so we're going Padres Guardians. Who's your prediction then to win it all?
Padres, and that's
Okay.
partially. And I want to have this caveat. I already have a future on the Astros from way early in the season. And then I already have a future on um, the Dodgers from way early in the season with a boost. And then I also have a bet that I made like a few months ago when we started really loving the Padres. That was a team from California winning the World Series. Um,
Nice. That's good.
so that gives me the Padres and the Dodgers, obviously. So it's not as long of a number. I think it was closer to like 3-1. But I felt like, and it sucks that they play each other, but it also guarantees me like a decent chance that one of them is in the NLCS. So I thought it was worth the
Yeah.
risk.
Yeah. No, yeah, and there's so many good like buy opportunities throughout the year because these sites keep the odds up normally. And they don't really update them or look at them that closely. Like I have the Dodgers to face the Royals in the World Series at 40-1, whereas if you're looking at the odds now, the Dodgers to beat the Royals is 40-1. So I'm not even asking for that exact, just both teams to get there. I have a little bit more Royals to win the ALCS. I just wish they weren't matched up against the Yankees. I was wishing they were up in that top spot, that 6th seed, but they got the 5th. So yeah, there's still a lot of value. I mean, we just talked about Padres to beat the Guardians. If you're looking at that number, it's 45-1. So I'm not saying to go out and throw a bunch of money out on that, but I think Padres Guardians. I'm going to take a little bite out of that, and I'll probably also just to kind of hedge, look at Padres to beat the Yankees at 3-1.
I was going to
Um,
say, what about a hedge where you have the Braves making a run? Because it would really suck if you have the Brewers, you have the Padres and all these bets, and then they go out and they lose a 2 out of 3 series because they play 2 bad innings, and then the next thing you know, they're like, "Oh, Chris Sale's back," and
Mhm.
which I don't know what's going to happen there. But Chris Sale comes back, and suddenly the the Braves are hot and look like a good team.
Yeah, and then I can just see this. This is would be so dumb, but I could just see Braves Mets in a NLCS, and they're like, just 2.5 weeks ago they played the
Yeah,
infamous doubleheader on game 163 or whatever. Or so I just think that something
that would
like
be
that could
funny.
happen. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not going to give out an official six pack play for the straight forecast, but um, I wanted to ask your opinion on World Series MVP, NLCS MVP, ALCS MVP. So for the NLCS, we like the Padres. Um, just looking at the Padres players here, the first one's Tatis, 35-1. Machado and Profar are both 40-1. Our boy Jackson Merrill, 50-1. If you don't think I'm throwing $20 on Jackson Merrill, NLCS MVP, you're
You
dead
owe it
wrong.
to him.
Yeah,
The same way
exactly.
you owed it to Kowser to pick him in the first round.
Kowser ALCS MVP, that is lighting money on fire, but he's 70-1. How is he 70-1, but Merrill's 50-1? That is not right. That is not right.
Oh,
Adley Rutschman, 65-1. No, thank you. Scooble, 55-1. How about Emmanuel Clase, 40-1 for the Guardians? If you remember when they made their run a few years ago, Andrew Miller was ALCS MVP. We could have a very similar type of feel, especially if he's
yeah,
striking out Judge and Soto in high leverage moments.
I could see that. I mean, if you're a believer in the Guardians like me, there's only really two options. It's Ramirez and Clase. Um, yeah, it's tough. Like picking an Astro, I feel like is low key hard because would it surprise anybody if Jose Altuve goes out there and has like another? I mean, he's one of the best playoff performers of all time.
Yep.
If he goes out there and just goes crazy and like the Astros are what the second most popular team from the American League, like it's it's not that crazy. So like that would probably be one if I was going way down the board. He's
Hmm.
50-1 on FanDuel. Um, I don't. I would just stay away from Shohei at 13-1. I know they want to give it to him if he's even like in the conversation and the Dodgers win it all, but I would not bet that. Um, and picking a Yankee is low key hard too because I mean it could be Judge, it could be Cole, it could be Soto, it could be even Jazz Chisholm or someone like that. Like I don't want to have to pick between that group.
The reason it could be someone weird is if a team pitches around Soto and Judge and forces other guys, if we're constantly seeing 2 on, 2 out, Judge and Soto at like second and third, and someone's up, someone can easily, have a couple hits and get like 6 or 7 RBIs over a couple game stretch. So
Yeah,
that'd kind of be the argument there. Um,
Kyle
NLC,
Tucker,
yeah, Kyle Tucker, he's back from
fifty to
injury.
one.
I think if I'm my best bets here, it's Emmanuel Clase 40-1. On the AL side, and the NL side, I'm going Fernando Tatis 35 to
Uh,
1.
wait for the World Series MVP.
Oh, that's just ALCS and
Oh,
NLCS
okay. I was gonna
MVPs.
say
Yep.
because Fernando Tatis at World Series MVP is 65-1, which is the same
Yeah.
odds as Yamamoto and Jack Flaherty, which is kind of insulting.
That seems crazy.
If you think Tatis has the same chance as Jack Flaherty, that's crazy.
That does not make a whole lot of sense to me.
I mean, I guess they must be thinking like, oh, Jack Flaherty's going to be the workhorse of the Dodgers, but that just seems.
Some of these odds are a little wonky. Like Freddie Freeman is 25-1, but Jose Ramirez is 60-1 or
In,
50-1.
in what world are the Dodgers winning the World Series and their offense didn't go bananas?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not
Hmm.
winning these games 3-2. They're going to be having 10 runs, 10-run games.
Is World Series MVP, does that have anything to do with their other rounds of the playoffs, or is it independent? Do you know?
I think it's independent to just those out of 7 games.
Because if you are a Braves believer, Chris Sale is 150 to 1. I'd rather bet that than the Braves to win the World Series, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard for them to win it without him being a god.
So recent winners, Corey Seager won last year, batted 318, 6 home runs, 12 RBIs. Before that, Jeremy Pena, which I don't think he's done anything since. Jorge Soler, Corey Seager won again in 2020. Strasburg, Steven Pierce. So
Who the hell is Steven Pierce?
he was from the Red Sox.
Okay.
Yeah, that was one of the most
If there's
random
any,
ones.
basically, there's a bunch of shortstops and a guy I've never heard of.
George Springer, Ben Zobrist. There hasn't been. I mean, Seager. I do think Seager is. I guess I wouldn't call him a superstar, but he's pretty dang close. If you've noticed, we've only had one pitcher, Steven Strasburg. The next pitcher was Madison Bumgarner in 2014. So, interesting. No relievers on here.
It feels like it's just going to be some random position player who has a really good series for the winning team, and it's going to be someone
Steven
that's like,
Kwan,
yeah,
110 to 1,
I
Guardians.
like him. I like him. Someone who doesn't even have to like, someone that's like not even the top, 150 to 1. Just
Yeah.
someone way down the board that we're not even thinking of.
What about a player who,
Josh Naylor.
Josh Naylor, where is he? Let's see.
He kind of struggled not struggled, but he didn't finish the year as hot as he started.
70 to 1. Yeah. What about just like attacking it in terms of if this team wins the World Series, it has to be him. So like if it's the Royals, it has to be Bobby Witt. Like that's the only way that they're doing this. He's 120 to 1. Same odds as Colton Cowser. Does that make any sense?
No, but we also don't necessarily think they're going to make the World Series.
But both of those teams don't have a first round bye. They're playing each other. So how it just does not make any sense.
True.
What about Gunnar Henderson's my other guy? He's 70 to 1. We know we're loyal to Gunnar. That's probably going to be $5 on him. But man, that's some of these odds are just crazy to me.
I mean, it would be Bobby Witt. I mean, who else? Vinny whatever his name is, Pascalino and Salvador Perez.
Yeah, Finney's back for the first game. Looking at other teams like the Mets, it has to be Lindor, right? I mean, was knocking on the door of MVP. He hit that clutch home run.
It doesn't have to be, because it could be Pete Alonso in like a Jorge Soler situation. It could be JD Martinez. I mean, they have enough hitting where I don't think it has to be him.
JD Martinez 200 to 1, even though he can barely run. Pete Alonso 150 to 1.
If Jorge Soler can win it, anyone who can hit 50 plus home runs in the regular season is live.
It's true. That is true. Okay. I don't think I can keep talking about this market. I'm going to be upset. Austin Wells 45 to 1. A rookie for the Yankees? That's just not happening. Yeah.
Who does he think he is? Yadi Molina?
I mean, he's batting in the 5 spot right after Judge and Soto.
If Austin Wells has like a negative WAR this postseason and his team wins a World Series, and then he goes on to have a decent career, we can always point back to him being a part of this World Series like Cardinals fans do with Yadi. 2 rings!
Another really poor bet on here, Gleyber Torres 45 to 1. I can't with this market.
The only time he's been close to a World Series MVP was when he got traded for Chapman.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, gotcha. Well, do you have any other markets to look at? I mean, there's playoff leaders, home run leaders, stolen base leaders, most hits. For this, I think you want to bet on someone whose team you think is going to go far. Like we have Tatis 40-1. Everyone else above him is a Dodger, Yankee, or Astro.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably I would probably bet an Astro for this one because yes, you want someone who's going to go far, and you also want someone who is going to get those extra games from the first round. So like I would prefer to take somebody that I feel comfortable moving on. So it might be an Astro, it might be a Padre. I just feel like we've been talking the Padres up so much that now if they get beat in 2 games, we're going to look silly. But so maybe you want to diversify and you take an Astro, you take um, a Tucker, an Alvarez, someone like that.
This is breaking news from 13 minutes ago. Jordan Alvarez is back. I thought he was hurt. They added last second. They added him to the roster. He's batting second today.
There you go.
Wow. Well, that's an easy. He's coming off an injury. He strikes out a lot anyway. You can bet him to strike out like over 1.5 times if that market's available. I don't love anything for most home runs, most steals too. I mean, all this is just
It's
is
all
pretty
luck.
random. Yeah, most hits, same sort of thing. Like I would
Isn't it going to be your
probably
boy, the
who
3-time in a row batting champ, Luis
Luis
Arias?
Arias. He's 22-1.
If the
That's a pretty
Padres
good
make the
number.
World Series, how is he not the bad? How is he not leading it in hits?
Yeah. No, you're totally right. You're totally right. I don't hate that. I wonder if you could parlay most hits, most stolen bases. If it would let you do that. And the answer is no. That's lame. Okay. I think I got all my thoughts out here.
I'm
I'm
just prepared for nothing to go as I expect. That's it.
Yeah, Padres get swept, Guardians lose in 4. It's going to
Brewers
be
win the World
Yankees.
Series against the Royals or something, and then I have to hear about small markets for the rest of my life.
Well, that's why we record this. It'll be nice coming back to this and tweeting out how Manuel Clase won ALCS at 40-1. And we have Tatis as MVP and Padres winning it all. So, okay. But our only official plays here, we have Guardians plus 390. You want a full unit on that to win the AL?
Sure.
Okay. And then I'll go full unit on Adley Rutschman under 0.247 batting average. Okay. So let's close this out here. Let's just look at our MLB futures and kind of how those graded out. So I had Yankees to miss the playoffs for a half unit. That clearly did not happen. We had look at this here. We had the Guardians to win the AL Central for a quarter unit plus 330. That hit. I lost on O'Neill Cruz home runs over 25.5. And Cody Bellinger over 23.5. Those both got close, but they didn't work out. Marlins under 77.5. That was a win. I had CJ Abrams stolen bases over 36.5. I think he had like 33, and then he got sent down because of his casino night.
Oh yeah.
So I got screwed on that. All good there. You had the Rockies under 59.5. That did not come home, but you did have the Cardinals and the Texas Rangers have their under win totals. Juan Soto MVP. He had a good year. He's probably going to finish third or fourth, but Judge ran away with that one. And then the only other one pending is Nico Gold Glove at plus 130. So, do you think he had a good enough year to bring that home?
Good enough. Yeah, I don't know what his competition did. I don't know who
Yeah,
else would be in that conversation.
yeah. And then the worst record in MLB, White Sox. That was a nice hit by you at plus 155. So kind of all over the board. We finished at 0.35 in the positive with Nico Horner pending. So
So if Nico doesn't win the Gold Glove, we're down.
yes. But if he does,
Then we're good.
Exactly.
Just how you draw it up.
Totally. Okay. Cool. Well, we'll try to talk a little MLB towards the end of our podcast, or maybe do another separate pod if we need to. But I'm glad we were able to get this in. But if you're cool, we can go over and switch over to NFL awards.
Yep.
All right. So we can kind of just talk about how the games went on our next podcast. Let's just strictly talk about awards the best we can. I just pulled up the FanDuel odds for MVP. We have Mahomes plus 230, Josh Allen plus 350, Stroud 950, Lamar 10-1. Your boy Sam Darnold 11-1, Brock Purdy 16-1, and then a bunch of other quarterbacks further down the board. Anything you're liking here?
Um,
I will say one more thing. Jaden
uh,
Daniels has steamed from like 100-1 down to 45-1.
I don't really love any of the MVP bets. I would consider Lamar, but I wish I probably would have gotten that a week ago. So now I'm kind of like I'm not buying high, but I'm just buying it at a worse price. The betting Pat Mahomes at plus 230 is really dumb. That's my advice. I mean, you could have gotten him before the season started at what 5-6-1. He
Yeah,
hasn't. Yes, his team is 4-0. He has not done enough to cut his odds in more than half.
yeah.
I mean, I would take numbers. I would take Josh Allen at second at plus 350 before I take that. I would take Lamar at 10-1 before I take that. I'm not going to buy into the Sam Darnold hype. I'm not going to buy into the Brock Purdy hype, the Jared Goff hype, the Dak, the Hurts, the Baker. None of that. I mean, I mean, if you want an argument for betting Jaden Daniels, it's this. Justin Fields is right behind him in the odds. That's a little messed up.
Well, Jaden Daniels, the pushback with him is his past two games, he's played the 31st and 32nd ranked defense. So he's got the Browns coming up, he's got the Ravens, he's got the Bears coming up. So if he continues to play at this high of a level, and yes, we need to take him seriously, but he is playing poor competition. So he's gonna, once he has TJ Watt in his face, Myles Garrett, um, Montez Sweat, it's not going to be as easy.
Well, I'll tell you what. You don't have to put this in the tracker, but I did put a little Caleb Williams 6-1 rookie of the year because, like you said, Jaden Daniels finally have to play somebody. Are your Browns going to actually let a little rookie run around on their ass?
Probably. But no, yeah, you would hope not. I mean, it's a lot different. The Browns still have Denzel Ward, all pro cornerback. Myles Garrett, I know he's banged up, but they're gonna dial it up against him. They're gonna try to make him feel a little uneasy back there. So I think
Yeah,
wait on Jaden Daniels. I did want to push back on the Lamar Jackson thing with you. So he's already won 2 MVPs. I think the voters are going to be kind of like how they were with Jokic in the ML and the NBA, where it's like we don't want to just keep giving him the award. We're going to find a reason to give it to someone else. And
I
Mahomes at
agree.
plus 230, with Rashee Rice hurt, the narrative is there. Like if they get the 1 seed, he's 14-3. Does it even matter if his stats aren't like astronomical, like maybe Allen or Lamar would be if he's just kind of picking and choosing his spots and still throwing 35 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Like, I just
You,
think,
I
God,
think Mahomes is the best player in the league and maybe all time. Like
yeah, yeah,
I'm not taking anything away from him. It's just like he hasn't really done anything, and his number keeps getting smaller. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, I think Lamar's 10-1 is probably built in. If Lamar's name was CJ Stroud and they had the same resume, he'd probably be closer to like 6-1. But CJ Stroud is kind of the shiny new toy, and Lamar is like you said, he's like the guy who has all these MVPs but never won the ring. So he's
yeah,
kind of a little stale. Um,
yeah,
I personally have not bet any MVP bets at these numbers.
yeah. I haven't either. I did take some Jaden Daniels 80-1, but that was very, very small, just to kind of say I had it. So I'm gonna stay patient in this market. I think if I have my eyes on anyone, it is. I guess I did bet Brock Purdy preseason. Like I have him at like 25-1. So I'm keeping my eye on Purdy, and I'm keeping my eye on one other person's Joe Burrow. So I
22
know,
to 1. Yeah. That
yeah,
was who I was going to
22-1.
mention.
I know there's worries about his wrist. The Bengals really are not that good, but their offense is good. I think that's pretty undeniable. Their offense is good, their defense is not. So if they keep getting in shootouts, I think that Burrow to Chase connection is obviously the best in the league. And then T. Higgins, if they can kind of get on the same page, um, I think that can be
Uh,
good for the Bengals.
dude, you're forgetting one guy.
Who?
Jordan Love, 50 to 1. What's wrong? What's wrong with 50? You want 50 to 1 for a top 5
He's
quarterback?
he's not healthy. Jordan loves the play next year. And
Oh,
if
okay,
you want
okay.
anything, it's Packers doing the
He
NFC.
looked
That's
he
that's
looked
what you want.
he looked pretty healthy when he was carving up that prevent defense.
All right, this is an award show. He's not winning the MVP. We can keep moving. You don't need to do this right now. Thank you, though. Thank you for doing your due diligence and bringing Jordan Love up.
Hey, somebody's got to.
I heard you had Malik Willis 200 to 1 MVP in pocket. Is that
Some are
true?
saying that his odds went down quite a bit after last week.
All right, let's look at AP Offensive Player of the Year. Saquon plus 430, Derrick Henry plus 470, Justin Jefferson 6 to 1, Nico Collins 10 to 1, CeeDee Lamb 14, Jamar Chase 22, and then kind of the rest.
How the hell
Further
is
past
Brees Hall
25 to
still
1.
within 30 to 1? He had 10 carries for
That's
4 yards.
yeah,
10
that
carries
one
for
is not
4 yards.
happening.
As a fantasy owner, I've never regretted a pick more. I took an Iowa State Cyclone and he went 10 carries for 4 yards. And he's not even their top back at times. He's a
Yeah.
little receiving scat back at this point. That whole offense is a disgrace. God, I don't know. Derrick Henry's making a push, but he's the same guy everyone told me was washed like a year ago. So I don't know what to believe.
The I don't even I listened. I'm going back to my old text on July 24th, 8:02 p.m. I texted our friend Brady Ellingson, Derrick Henry 40 to 1 offensive player of the year. I've looked through all of my sports books. I cannot find where I placed it. I'm worrying that I forgot to place this bet. I'm not sure how. But the guys on Bet the
Maybe there was
Edge,
supposed to
Jay
be a
Croucher and
question
Drew
mark.
Dinsick gave it out.
Maybe your text
No,
was
it
supposed to have a
wasn't.
question mark at the end, and you were asking for his
It
advice
wasn't. It
because
wasn't
you
because
guys agree on everything.
a week later, I texted our group chat with you in it. I said Derrick Henry, offensive player of the year, with like the star-eyed emoji. So I don't know what I've been doing. I got to find that. So I don't like Derrick Henry at 470. So hopefully you got him preseason. But what I think this is just a bet on health. If you think Justin Jefferson is staying healthy, I think that plus 600 is good. He's scored every week. He's gonna keep doing it. Sam
I
Darnold
agree.
has looked good. I just think it's gonna be Justin Jefferson. Saquon Barkley is an absolute no for me at plus 430. I think the Eagles are gonna fall apart. I think they're gonna have too many poor games. Henry's definitely possible. But I'm a Justin Jefferson guy. I'm also a Nico Collins guy. I think it's gonna be JJ or Nico,
What about
personally.
CD?
No, I think the Cowboys are a disaster. I can't do with him either.
I was gonna say the only one I like is Justin Jefferson. I think I mentioned that last week. I think that's the only one that I think is bettable right now.
Yeah.
And that was before they. I thought that before. Probably should have bet it last week. I didn't, but
Okay. Well,
obviously
I'm putting it on the 6-pack. Justin Jefferson,
6
offensive
to
player of
1.
the year, 6 to 1. Yep.
The board falls pretty quick, pretty hard right after those top 4 or 5. I mean,
Definitely like Alvin
Jonathan
Kamara.
Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's not going to win.
He's hurt. He's banged up. Kamara has broken ribs. Throw both those guys out. Josh Allen 25 to 1. So if we do think a quarterback can win an award, or like a MVP, one win MVP, one win offensive player of the year, it would be Mahomes and Allen, some way in that order. one thing I love about FanDuel though is you can parlay awards, so you can get like some insane value. And I think a parlay piece, if you're okay with transitioning over to the next thing, looking at defensive rookie of the year, has there been a single guy that's like stood out to you?
No, the Latu had a big sack in the Bears game, but and Byron Murphy is just a D tackle who's not going to collect stats.
He's hurt too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really know who to go with here. I don't. Cooper DeJean barely plays.
Yeah.
I don't love any of these names.
What's his name? Tyrion Arnold for the Lions looked awful yesterday, had a bunch of holding penalties. So kind of where I'm looking is 55-1 Darius Robinson for the Cardinals. So he was injured. He's just coming back. So it's kind of a bet on his health, if you will. And so he is eligible to return from the IR. His practice window is just about to open up. He's 6'5", 290. He ran a 4.95 at the combine. So obviously he's their first round pick or their late first round pick with MHJ. I believe, or was he second round? Let me double check. So I like Darius Robinson, 55-1. And okay, yeah, he was at the end of the first round, pick 27. So that's kind of how the defensive rookie of the year works. Is it's going to be a first round guy. So we saw with Will Anderson last year. Like, yes, he performed well, even though we had the D tackle for the Rams really almost outperform him. He was just a late round pick, so he didn't get that buzz. So that's why I think it's going to be Leate Latu, Dallas Turner, one of those guys. But I just think Darius Robinson is going to be in that conversation. I think him at 55-1, if we get a healthy 13, 14 games out of him, I think that's a great parlay piece. If you have him 55-1 and we have some conviction on Justin Jefferson, that's already 390-1 right there. That's $2 to win $800. So stuff like that, if you just want to sprinkle, if you have a bankroll of like kind of, $100 throughout the whole year to do something like this, just doing a bunch of $2 or $3 bets like this, I think you can get one home. That's where I'm at with defensive player of the year.
Yeah, I mean, when you go back to the draft, I mean, how far did we have to get into the draft before the first defensive player was taken? So I don't
15
think
or
we're talking about.
16, yeah.
Yeah, we're not talking about generational players that are stepping in and making immediate impacts. I mean, Jared Verse being the top guy on the board, it's no slight to him. It's just like that's not a sexy pick. So I haven't really even paid attention to it because I'm not going to sit here and act like I've paid a ton of attention to what the Eagles secondary is doing outside of Cooper DeJean or like what is Kamari Lassiter up to. Like those are names that like I don't watch the all 22 enough to know what kind of impact a back end defensive back is having in AFC South games. So,
well, Lassiter, the cornerback for Houston, he was 12-1 last week. I do know of the Deep Dive podcast. Andy Molitor wrote that in his newsletter. He liked him 12-1. He also liked Jonah Ellis, the outside linebacker for the Broncos. He was 45-1 last week. He's down to 40-1. A couple other guys, Chris Braswell, defensive line for the Bucks, is 75-1. But he's, according to this newsletter, he's still leaning Latu at 5 or 6-1. So
I like defensive
it probably will
linemen.
Be someone from the top. Yeah.
I like defensive
it'll probably
linemen
be someone at the top of the board.
You get a measurable statistic. Some of the best defensive backs in the league don't have stats that show up. You have to like actually watch their film and like have some there's context to all of this. Like if they don't throw at him, you're not going to have stats. These defensive linemen, yeah, you can have like facing double teams versus not facing double teams, like all that type of stuff. But at least there's a stat where it's like if this guy has 10 sacks, he's good. Like you can't deny that he did not have a good season. So that's I would prefer D lineman. That's all I'm saying. NFL comeback player of the year. Sam Darnold and Aaron Rodgers have kind of been the top guys, at least for a couple weeks now. I did take a flyer on someone down the board. Do you have a guess who it is?
DeMar Hamlin.
How the fuck is he still in the top five?
I don't
It's
know.
been 2 years. He didn't
He
win it
shouldn't
last year.
be
Why would he win it this year?
he shouldn't be eligible. I'm gonna go with Nick Chubb, 19-1.
No, it's
Dobbins,
somebody. Yes, I took it
J.K.
13 to
Dobbins.
one. Yeah, I like J.K.
Okay.
Dobbins. Um, I don't know if you have to put it in the tracker or if you do make it a half unit or something because I still think it's going to end up being a quarterback award. But I do think if you watch the Chargers, J.K. Dobbins is really good, and he's a guy that you know how I feel like I don't want it to just go to some guy that we already knew was good, just was coming off an injury. He was kind of
Yeah.
an afterthought. I mean, he was not brought back to the Ravens. He hasn't. Not only has he not been healthy for like a year, he hasn't been healthy since college. Um, so I think that's something to keep an eye on. I mean, the Chargers have somewhat overachieved. I mean, the record may not show it, but I think they look a little better than maybe people thought, and he's a big reason why.
Yeah, no, I don't hate that at all. I think he's definitely live. I mean, Rodgers, you could just give it to him if you're lazy. Darnold is just coming back from sucking. I don't even think he's not coming back from adversity. He wasn't hurt.
He was on the bench
Burrow,
last year.
dumb. Kirk Cousins is not going to win. I have Kyler Murray like 35-1 from preseason. I mean, he's looked good. He didn't look good last week. He's still 15-1. But yeah, I think Dobbins, I would agree. I think he's the best value on the board. I think worst value on the board is Anthony Richardson, 34-1. I don't.
How
That
can
does
he
not
be
make.
coming back from something?
He was hurt last year, man. He was hurt after 2 games.
Yeah, so he's played 2 games in his whole career.
Yeah. So yeah, that
He
doesn't.
also stinks, so we don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah.
We can talk about his storyline, but there's also the whole point of like he sucks at football.
Yeah. So there's so many narratives with this. I think you can just keep an eye on it. Like, Dobbins is good to have in pocket right now, but Flacco was 100-1 a month before the season ended last year. I know it was back and forth with DeMar Hamlin. DeMar Hamlin was up to like 3 or 4-1 at one point too. Like you can get something
Yeah.
as
If
the
you
year
have
goes on.
Darnold from like a month ago, that's great. I
Yeah.
would not bet Rodgers now. I mean, Rodgers is still top of the board. He hasn't really done anything. I mean,
Yeah.
he lost to one of the worst teams in the NFL and had 0 touchdowns. Like he's been pretty mid. He's been pretty average. He has not accomplished much since coming back, individually or as a
Yeah.
team. So I don't
Yeah.
I don't really know what that's a projection number right there.
Yeah. No, I agree. Okay. Let's go defensive player of the year. Aiden Hutchinson plus 250, TJ Watt plus 340, Chris Jones 10-1, Bosa 10-1, Miles Garrett 14, Max Crosby 20-1. This is the only award where I don't think long shots win. It's one of the top guys. Micah Parsons just got banged up with a high ankle sprain. I think that pretty much knocks him out. Miles Garrett has messed up feet right now. He might require
I like
offseason
Chris
surgery.
Jones.
You like Chris Jones 10-1.
I haven't played it, but when I look at these numbers, it's the only one that I like.
That seems like something we should have bet in the preseason. I did it last year because he was 50-1. Obviously, I was a year too early on that.
Will Anderson 25-1, maybe. I don't know.
Possible.
It's a little weird when you have him and his fellow edge rusher in that conversation.
Yeah. I have Aiden Hutchinson 12-1 preseason, so I'm kind of just chilling with him right now.
I think TJ Watt's the safe bet.
Yeah, definitely the safe bet. Definitely the safe bet. Yeah, I wouldn't mind honestly playing that. But we can keep an eye on that. I don't know. I don't have a lot to talk about here. AP offensive rookie of the year. So you said you just bet Caleb Williams at 6-1. Only people ahead of him: Neighbors plus 340, Daniels minus 150, And then the only other option is Marvin Harrison Jr. 7-1. I don't think anyone else can win. Brian Thomas Jr. has looked good at 50-1 for the Jags, but the Jags are 0-4. Bowers 45-1. Xavier Worthy, if he has to step into a wide receiver one role, which I don't think he's ready for, I suppose that's possible at 25-1. What about Drake May 120-1 if he starts?
No. For rookie of the year?
You don't have to get mad at me. I'm just asking.
For rookie of the year?
Yeah.
No. I don't see it. He's going to get last place in his division. He's missed 4 games. I mean, he's not playing this Sunday, so that's at least 4.5, 5 games.
Yeah. I think this is kind of just a bet on Jaden Daniels' health. If you think he can play the whole year, I think he's going to win. But if not, I mean, I still like Neighbors 340.
I need the Browns to help me out here. Just rock his world.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bears play Carolina this weekend, so get a few touchdowns on the board.
Andy Dalton revenge game.
Yeah. Yep.
Is that game in Chicago?
Yep.
Dang.
Trust me, I would have gone to that game if it were here.
That's good. I'm glad.
Would have walked over a minute before it starts.
Last awards category, regular season coach of the year. Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings, plus 195. Dan Quinn, plus 550. Mike McDonald, 7-1. Harbaugh and Tomlin, 14-1. Then it kind of drops off. Dennis Allen down to 28-1.
I don't want any of those names.
How about, can I interest you? I know you're not going to like this, so you can feel free to be upset with me, but Sean McVay, 55-1.
That's basically a bet on them making the playoffs.
Yeah.
55-1 on the Rams making the playoffs, basically.
I'd rather have that at 55-1 than...
He did kind of screw up the end of the Bears game.
Yeah, I know.
But, I mean, no one will remember if they make the playoffs. Man. It's tough because Kevin O'Connell is an elite coach, and he's obviously undefeated. But it's just hard to really predict the Vikings keep winning like this.
Andy Reid, 35-1.
Sign me up.
Give him like a career award if they get the 1 seed.
Let's just give it to Zach Taylor, 130-1.
If the Bengals can get the 1 seed, yeah. Tall task.
How is he the 3rd worst odds? I mean, Salah's going to get fired and he's 60-1.
He should be ahead of McCarthy. He should be ahead of Daboll. He should be way ahead of Sirianni. Gerard Mayo's not going to win. Sean McDermott's not going to win. I don't know. Canales isn't going to win. There's a lot of guys. We should go through an exercise. We can just cross people off sometime. Maybe at like the halfway point of the year, we do this again, because then you'd really know. But yeah, I don't know. I guess Kevin O'Connell's the rightful favorite. I'm not in this market at all right now. I have McDonald preseason 28-1 or 22-1. So I'm a Seahawks fan for the rest of the year, and that's about it.
Did you watch any of that game last night?
No, I had to work.
Me neither. I couldn't get myself excited for either of those Monday night games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any plays on this yet either. I mean, if you love the Packers like you say you do, Matt LaFleur 25-1. He got Malik Willis to go 2-0. Blah blah blah.
Packers right now 27-1 to win the Super Bowl and 12-1 to win the NFC.
It's hard to do when you don't have a quarterback.
Do you think the Packers are better than the Cowboys?
Probably, without Michael Parsons.
Do you think they're better than the Vikings? If you had to bet $1 million one way, are you betting Vikings or Packers in a January playoff game?
I need to see what the Vikings do the rest of the year. They just beat them in Green Bay. I wouldn't
Yeah,
take
well,
the Packers over the Vikings either, but I wouldn't feel comfortable laying $1 million on either side. I don't
okay,
even have
that's
the
fair.
full resumes.
Packers, Eagles. I think the Packers. I just think they're better than those three teams,
They
and then it's
lost to
just
the
the nine.
Eagles.
I don't care. It was the first week on a horrible field in Brazil.
You just
It
said they're
doesn't
better
matter.
than two teams they've lost to.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Well, you look at the Eagles, they just came off an awful effort. They have Lane Thomas banged up, A.J. Brown banged up, Devontae Smith banged up. I know you're a Jalen Hurts truther, but he can't do it all. So
All
I,
you're
I
doing is
just
talking me into thinking the Bears can do something special this year because you're
the
naming off
bit.
all these NFC teams that suck.
No, no. We can finish out with some win totals here. The Bears over under 7.5. If I wasn't doing a podcast with you, I would have a play on the under 7.5. Well, we'll
Smart
just keep
not
it
to.
off. Yeah.
Smart not to.
Browns are 6.5. So if that makes you feel any better, you
They
guys are gonna have more
suck,
wins
dude.
than
I
me.
lost a lot of money on the Browns last weekend.
Yeah, they are. They're not a good team. Not a good team. Steelers still sitting at over under
and
8.5.
per my Browns insider, Nicholas Bear, he said it wasn't Deshaun Watson's fault they lost. Is that true?
I don't know. He watches more of the games than me. We can stick with his opinion.
He blamed the offensive line. I
They
told
do
you
have
it's an epidemic. It's an
yeah, they
epidemic.
have 4 injuries on the offensive line, so not looking good. All right, so I guess quarter poll prediction: who's winning the Super Bowl, or who's winning the AFC, who's winning the NFC, and who's winning the Super Bowl? It's rapid fire.
I
Or you
don't. I
need some
don't.
time to think. You need me to go first.
I was gonna say I'm still probably taking the Chiefs, and in the NFC, I mean who the, the 49ers, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll
Wait,
go
way to
chalk.
way to keep it
Hey,
super
chalk has
chalky.
won for me like 3 of the last 4
Yeah.
years. So
Yeah.
haters can suck it.
I'm going Ravens plus 370, and the NFC, I'll go Packers 12-1. Feel free to parlay those at 60-1.
I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. No worries. All right. Well, yeah, this was just kind of a good intro into the playoff market and awards market. We'll keep an eye on everything. Try to extract some value as the season goes on. But if you're done with football, I can close the show out with a tennis pick. Little treat to anyone who made it this far down. Which, if you're skeptical of us, that's fine. But we are up 4.39 units lifetime in tennis. So if there's anything to listen to me on, it is tennis.
And we don't give
We
that many tennis plays. So
No, we
that's a
don't.
pretty good stat.
We pick and choose our spots. So right now, like it's kind of the off season, if you will, for like the casual fan. They have like their year end finals coming up, which is basically just a way to make money. I don't think they necessarily care about that. They just care about the 4 Grand Slams. But the tournament right now is it's in China, ATP Beijing tournament. It's ATP 500. Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz are facing off. They're 1 and 2 in the world right now in the live rankings. So we don't get these matchups often. The 4 Grand Slams this year. Can you? I'm gonna see if you can name the winners from them. Who won the Australian Open?
Center.
That's correct. Who won the French?
Whoa!
Yeah. Who won the French Open?
Carlitos.
That's correct.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Who won Wimbledon?
Djokovic.
No, Carlitos.
I
And
have
then
3 tennis players I know off the
yeah.
top of my head, and I was just gonna list them.
Yeah, Djokovic got hurt. And then who won the U.S. Open?
I should know this because it just happened.
Yeah, you should.
Center.
Correct. Sinner. You got 3 out of the 4. You
That was
missed
the only one I
Carlitos.
kind of knew.
So basically, that's just me hyping this matchup up. All 4 of the Grand Slams this year, they were split by Sinner and Alcaraz. They never faced each other in the finals. They faced off in semifinals, though. So I just think, or in one semifinal. So I just think it's a real treat that these 2 guys are playing. It's only in a best of 3 match, so You're not going to have to necessarily worry about the stamina or fatigue of these guys. It's just going to be all systems go. Carlitos is minus 120-ish, depending on where you're at. But you can bet the spread. So it's a best-of-3 match. You can bet Yannick Sinner to win a set at minus 124. I think Sinner went, or I think Alcaraz wins this match, but I think Sinner could easily win it. I think he'll definitely be competitive in a set and take a set. So we're taking Yannick Sinner plus 1.5 sets at minus 124. It's our
Okay.
official play.
I might as well. I
Yannick
might tell you right now.
Yeah.
Get it in my book.
Exactly. I don't know if DraftKings has that up yet because it was just posted. But they will have it up because they usually copy what Bet Rivers has. So keep an eye on that. Plus 1.5 sets for Yannick Sinner. Okay. And that's it. We'll put minus 120 for that. Okay. Awesome. All right. Any other closing thoughts by you other than Jordan Love MVP sprinkle? Are you good?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, best of luck, everyone. We'll get this out before the first game of MLB, and we'll tweet out all our plays. So just in case you are a little bit late listening to this, always have our tweet alerts on. Obviously, subscribe to the pod, subscribe to YouTube, and you'll be able to see all our information as soon as it hits the airwaves. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. This has been another episode of Bet GPT.